Tonight on Reel to Reel, we'll have the story of a company in Texas developing high technology for the disabled.
And Nobel Prize winner Desmond Tutu speaks out against apartheid.
Rosemary Bruno will fill us in on current events.
And Father Joseph Glass will talk about the history of missionaries in New Jersey. All that and much more tonight. Hello, I'm Father Dave McGowan.
And I'm Isabel Gauvry. Welcome to Reel to Reel.
Good evening. It's always a pleasure to spend part of Sunday evening with you, and with you too, Belle.
Well, thanks, Father. I wouldn't miss it for the world.
I understand we have a packed show tonight.
Well, up first, we have the story of a man from Arlington, Texas, who was critically disabled in a swimming accident. He then went on to use his electronics expertise to develop computers to do the work his body could no longer do.
And to develop a company to develop high technology for the handicapped person.
Several years ago, Jack Kishpaw dove into the shallow end of a swimming pool and broke his neck. The accident changed his life. He lost the use of his limbs, but he didn't lose his spirit or his faith.
It would be terribly difficult to make the kind of adjustment that I had to make if you did not have your faith to lean on. I've been going through a great deal of healing, but in my mind, that does not include that I'm going to eliminate this wheelchair. The healing process that I'm going through is the one of adjusting from not having the facilities of finger dexterity and learning that there are alternatives that are out there. Hello? Yes?
Jack found that technology and computers could help him overcome some of the new obstacles in his life.
Computers represented a means whereby I could not only put time into something that would be beneficial to me in improving my quality of life, but to give me something to do that's intellectually stimulating.
Computers give Jack access to the outside world by way of electronic mail and newspapers. They allow him control of equipment and appliances.
All of us want to seek as much independence as we can, and it's through this technology today that many disabled are finding that they too can do some remarkable things.
While attending a meeting of Bridges, a Catholic group of abled and disabled persons in Fort Worth, Texas, Jack had the idea of an organization to help people with disabilities use computers. So he founded CCAD, the Center for Computer Assistance to the Disabled. CCAD supplies computer equipment modified for use by the disabled and teaches marketable computer skills, all at no cost. One of CCAD's clients is Susan Wimberly. She is blind and cannot use a normal computer. CCAD supplied her with an Echo 2 speech synthesizer.
The Echo 2 reads to me from the screen exactly what a sighted person would see on the screen. I'm able to read star text, which is a lot of things that come out from the newspaper, and it's probably the closest to sighted that I'll ever be. It enables me to be more independent than I would be before I had the computer.
Another person to benefit from CCAD's help is David Gentry, a senior majoring in computer science at the University of Texas.
Without CCAD, I wouldn't have the equipment necessary for me to compete with other students at school. They're able to go up to the school and use their computers, but the computers at the school haven't been modified for the handicap or for my needs, and CCAD has allowed me to have the equipment at home that I can use so that I can complete my homework assignments and whatnot.
David uses a mouth stick to control a keyboard modified to work with only one key pressed at a time, instead of two as on most keyboards. Other types of adaptations used at CCAD include oversized levers glued to knobs and disk drives turned on their sides and used with platforms to facilitate loading.
Go ahead. 2, 1.
For people with severely impaired dexterity, CCAD has begun working with computers that respond to spoken commands.
3. Menu.
Technology such as this allows people with a wide range of disabilities to find employment at home, which is one of CCAD's main goals.
Did he ask that we send a questionnaire?
I sent all the information.
We are continuously in touch with prospective employers. We have tried to talk to them on the basis of where they are not filling a social responsibility by considering people with disabilities to become employees, but that this is sound business judgment. Disabled employees are excellent employees. They have a tendency to be very, very punctual, and they're people that they're appreciative of the opportunity. They have a lot of stick-to-itiveness, and they have the desire to prove not just to that employer, but to themselves and to the community at large that they are contributors.
CCAD is a low-budget operation. It is supported by donations of equipment and money from firms and individuals. Jack volunteers his time as chairperson of CCAD's board of directors, and many of the staff members are volunteers from the community. Steve Loniger is a computer consultant who helped develop one of the first models of personal computers. He's also a volunteer.
The thing I really like about CCAD is it's an opportunity to use some of my engineering creativity to help other people.
Steve repairs and modifies much of the equipment donated to CCAD.
This is one of these things that's really good for the soul. You see people that have got limited movement capabilities, and you really realize just how fortunate you are, but how determined they are to overcome these handicaps. And in my own little way, my own small part, I'm helping overcome those. And it just kind of makes you feel good.
Steve and others at CCAD attribute much of their enthusiasm to Jack's infectious spirit.
Jack's a super guy. He's always good for cheering people up. You know, if I had half the energy he had, I could probably fly.
He's my hero, my white knight in a wheelchair.
Carol Mossage is CCAD's volunteer librarian.
He's intelligent. He's a generous man with his nature. He's taken a tragedy and made it into a triumph, and he's showing everybody he can do that, and that you can too. Without my faith, I just would not have had a chance as far as I'm concerned. Without that, you really have nothing. It has to be part of your day-to-day life. If it isn't, you're missing a marvelous opportunity to understand why you are in the condition you're in, but also to understand the special opportunity you've been given to demonstrate in some other way what you are able to do rather than what you're unable to do. And without a great deal of faith, that can be awfully difficult.
We're going to take a short break, but don't go away.
There's much more to come, so stay with us.
May 2nd, 1986, and you're just beginning the experience of a lifetime on the 1986 Reel-to-Reel Tour of Europe. Join Father Dave McGowan for a 16-day visit to places you've heard about but thought you'd never see. The mystique of Milan, luxurious Lucerne, bustling Munich, exciting Innsbruck, romantic Venice, the culture of Florence, and of course Rome, including a papal audience. All this and much more is part of the all-inclusive package. For a brochure and more information, call 215-565-7070.
Charity in Action is a heartwarming sight.
In South Jersey, the House of Charity relieves hardship for thousands of men, women, and children. Through its agencies, retarded children receive special education. Medical treatment goes to the poor. Concerned workers care for the elderly. Young people are counseled on drug and alcohol abuse. And the physically handicapped receive training. Support the House of Charity in South Jersey and touch someone's life with love.
As we saw in our last piece, today high technology can be developed to assist the physically disabled. But for Gene Riely, who we saw in that last piece, there are some things that must come from the heart and not a machine.
I just try to make the best of what I have.
I just try to make the best of what I have. I want my life to have some meaning. So you have to find some way to give value to your life. I do this through my writing and my painting.
Do this through my writing and my painting. I started painting when I was a child.
I started painting when I was a child. But then I gave it up because I thought it was child's play. And I didn't realize I could paint until I was 33 years old.
I just enjoy it. With my lack of coordination, well, it's a wonder I can paint, you know.
With my lack of coordination, it's a wonder I can paint, you know. It surprises me even because I look at my paintings and say, did I really do that? It seems impossible that I actually could create something like that.
It's such a struggle. It really is. It's a constant battle.
It's such a struggle. It really is. It's a constant battle. All I can say is just keep on trying, you know. Don't let it get to you. People tell you that you can't do this and you can't do that. I just don't pay any attention to people who tell me I can't do it.
I don't pay attention to people that tell me I can't do it. We're just normal people that have a
We're just normal people that have a problem with mobility or speech. I think everybody wants to be treated like a normal person.
A normal person. Everyone's got their own problems. You just have to learn to cope.
Everyone's got their own problems. You've got to learn to cope with the realities of your own lifestyle. I believe that being happy is possible under the circumstances. I think you waste your life by being miserable. And to me, being happy shows your love for God.
Being happy shows your love for God.
If you would like to get in touch with Gene or the Center for Computer Assistance to the Disabled, contact us here and we'll give you the address and phone number. Right now, let's join Father Joseph Glass for a look at the history of missionaries in New Jersey.
They were strong and brave men. They traveled in the wilderness for months on end. They were sometimes chased and shot at, and if caught, there was the possibility of imprisonment. They had names like O'Reilly, Schneider, Bulger, and Farmer. No, they were not trappers nor scouts, but Catholic missionary priests traveling throughout New Jersey. They would travel over paths and Indian trails on horseback, carrying with them their sacks containing the altar stone, vestments, chalice, and wine for the sacrifice. Included in this was the missal, but due to poverty and the desire to lighten his load, one missionary priest even made handwritten copies of his missal so as to have one at different stations. Many of the missionaries worked out of St. Joseph's Church in Philadelphia, and they would ride the circuit administering to the scattered Catholics in New Jersey. One route took them along the Delaware River, across country to Long Pond, now Greenwood Lake, Mount Hope, Basking Ridge, Trenton, and Salem. As they stopped at these settlements, imagine the happiness Catholic settlers felt on seeing a priest for the first time in months. Proud parents would bring their newborn for baptism, while the older children prepared for catechism. The adults would anxiously line up for confession and to receive the Eucharist. A rudimentary altar was prepared, and from his valise the priest would bring the altar stone, chalice, and vestments. And in a humble house in the woods, Catholics from all around would gather to celebrate the Mass. I'm Father Joe Glass with this moment in history.
We're going to take a short break, but there's more to come.
So don't go away. We'll be back in a minute.
At the Donahue Funeral Home, we're always gratified to hear from the families we serve. Over the years, many bereaved families have told us how much they appreciated the warm, home-like atmosphere of the Donahue Funeral Home. To make such moments perhaps a little less difficult, the Donahue Funeral Home suggests that you discuss with us now, in the privacy of your home, pre-arrangement and the financial advantages and peace of mind it brings. That's what living is all about.
From the river to the ocean and everywhere in between, the Diocese of Trenton lives in its parishes, people, homes, and schools. And the Monitor newspaper is your way to keep aware of the renewal of the diocese. Lively features, accurate news reports, and columnists with something to say. Read the Monitor to find out what's happening in your church, from around the world, throughout the diocese, in your parish, from the ocean to the river. To subscribe, call area code 609-586-7400.
A few weeks ago, Philadelphia was honored with a visit by Nobel Prize winner Bishop Desmond Tutu as he travels the world speaking out against the horrors of apartheid in South Africa.
The bishop is a dynamic, forceful, and emotional speaker, as we can see here in a recent speech taped at Washington's National Cathedral.
In a land such as South Africa, which follows policies that claim blasphemously that people are created for separation, and that the most important thing about them is the color of their skin, we have to proclaim that it is sin that is divisive. We are brothers and sisters, one of another, whatever our color or race or culture or status. We belong to one another as children of the same Father. And it is the constraint of our worship that drives us out to care for those of our family who are less well off. In a family, all should be treated as of equal value. How can we not care, therefore, when many of our family in South Africa, for instance, are uprooted and dumped as you dump rubbish in arid, forlorn Bantustan resettlement camps? How can we remain unmoved when mothers and wives are hounded, as we know they have been in squatter camps in South Africa? How can we be unmoved when our children in South Africa are dying needlessly on the borders of that land, on both sides, in a war nobody can win? How can we remain unmoved when so many are banned and detained without trial, and too many have died mysteriously in detention? How can we remain unmoved when 6-year-olds are shot in the back by the police and killed? How can we remain unmoved when a beautiful land, gloriously, richly endowed by God, and its peoples are becoming increasingly polarized into hostile camps, when it could be otherwise? No, we can't be unmoved. And you here, my sisters and brothers, are being called on by God to be fellow workers with him, so that you will ensure that human rights are upheld in this land and in those lands in which your country exercises so great an influence. For if this country were to do what we ask it to do, apartheid would end tomorrow. And we give thanks to God that it is becoming so, with all of those seeking to demonstrate against apartheid and against the collaboration that happens with apartheid. We can't be unmoved, for God calls on you to be fellow workers with him in your land, in our land. For ultimately, my brothers and sisters, the church is the only hope for our land. As the church declares and demonstrates in its life the love of God, his justice, his reconciliation. It proclaims, despite all appearances to the contrary, this is God's world, and God is in charge.
And now, to keep us up to date on current events, here's Rosemary Bruno with In the Know.
Thank you, Father, and good evening. New Jersey bishops have asked their state's Department of Human Services to increase grants combating poverty and homelessness. This request comes despite raises in the monies allotted over the last 2 years. According to William Bolin, Executive Director of the New Jersey Catholic Conference, however, the grants are so far below the poverty level that they contribute to the conditions of hunger and homelessness. The statement issued by the bishop said a minimal level of decency cannot be maintained under current conditions. Our response to the Lord's call is the theme of the second phase of the Renew program, which began today throughout the Trenton Diocese. According to Sister Jean Vogel, co-director of the Trenton's Renew office, the program has been initiated on a voluntary basis and received enthusiastically by a large percentage of parishes in the diocese.
We have many small parishes, many large parishes, and parishes that have had small group sharing previously, and others in which that is very new. So it's flexible in the sense that the local parish can make some decisions as to how it will work best in their parish. But the very important part is the leadership training that the individuals in the parish get to assume their role of the laity's role of leadership in the parish.
Focusing on the individual within the parish setting, Renew is designed to increase awareness of the church community. The program was introduced to the Trenton Diocese in the fall of 1985 and will continue on during the fall and Lent for the next 2 years. Sister Jean will be featured along with several Renew participants in a special Easter edition of Reel to Reel. Pope John Paul II is making history this week as the first head of the Roman Catholic Church ever to tour India, one of the world's most populous nations. With an 83% Hindu population and only 3% of the people professing Christianity, the Pope has run into open opposition during his visit. He rejected the idea that he was in favor of converting the Indian population, emphasizing his mission of respecting the country's religious values and encouraging the minority Catholic Church. During the trip, the Pope has drawn attention to India's massive poverty and other social problems while urging government solutions. The Archdiocese of Philadelphia joined the rest of the nation in mourning the loss of the Space Shuttle Challenger's 7 crew members. Bishop Louis D. Simone celebrated Mass at St. Peter and Paul's Cathedral, together with Catholics throughout the Archdiocese, in recognition of the courage of these astronauts. During the Mass, 7 candles symbolizing hope and eternal life were placed before the American flag by children from St. Francis Xavier and Holy Redeemer parishes. Well, that's the news. For In the Know, I'm Rosemary Bruno.
Thank you, Rosemary. As we've been promising all season, we have available now travel brochures for the upcoming Reel to Reel European tour. We'll be leaving on May 2nd and returning May 18th. Countries we'll visit include Italy, Switzerland, Germany, and Austria.
Write or call us here and we'll be happy to send you the travel brochure, which includes information on fares and accommodations. Contact us here at Reel to Reel, 222 North 17th Street, room 907, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania 19103. That's Reel to Reel, 222 North 17th Street, room 907, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania 19103. Or call during business hours 215-668-9842. That's 215-668-9842.
Here's this week's Community Bulletin Board. February is Black History Month, and LaSalle University is celebrating with two events. The first, a discussion of Black history through artifacts by Philadelphia historian Charles Blockson on February 11th at 12:30 p.m. in the Union Building on LaSalle's campus at 20th and Olney. Admission is free. And during the month of February, the LaSalle University Art Museum is presenting an exhibition of African and Haitian objects. The museum is open from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. and admission is free. Also at LaSalle on February 20th, Dr. Joseph O'Grady will present Ireland in the 80s, a discussion of the political, social, and economic changes in Ireland over the last 5 years. For further information on these and other LaSalle University events, call area code 215-951-1080. In other events, author John P. Hayes will headline the 39th Annual Catholic Author Luncheon on Saturday, March 1st at the Philadelphia Center Hotel. For more information, call area code 215-687-8472. On February 20th, lay ministry groups in the area will sponsor an evening of information for all those interested in lay ministry. They will discuss lay volunteer ministry around the world and the growing role of laity in today's church. It will be held at 7:30 p.m. at the University of Pennsylvania's Newman Center. For more information, call area 215-938-0540.
Next week on Reel to Reel, we'll continue our series on the history and culture of Black Catholics in the Delaware Valley with a look at members of the sisterhood.
And we'll meet local attorney and people's advocate Maureen McCullough. All that and much more next week. Join us then. Good night.
Good night, and remember, Jesus is Lord.
Travel arrangements for Reel to Reel by Atkinson and Mullen Travel of Media, PA. Phone area 215-565-7070.